Hi, welcome to today's webinar about Penn State's Master of Public Policy degree program. I'm Whitney Sheridan, Director of Communications with the School of Public Policy at Penn State. I'll be moderating today's discussion along with our presenters. Today we have Stephen Maslowski. He's our Enrollment and Advising Manager. Welcome, Stephen.
Hi, Whitney. Thank you for having me.
Also with us is Caitlin Reber. Caitlin is started in the Master of Public Policy degree program as one of our accelerated integrated undergraduate graduate program students and is now a full-time graduate student who had her internship experience this past summer. We'll hear a little bit more about that later. Caitlin, thanks for being here with us today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
We also have our Director of Professional Development and Student Engagement, Catherine Baumgardner, with us. Catherine is also an Associate Teaching Professor and has nearly 30 years of public policy experience in healthcare, advocacy, and consulting. Welcome, Catherine.
Thanks, Whitney. It's great to be with you all today.
And thanks to all of our panelists and of course to all of you for joining us today. Before I turn things over to our panelists, I want to let you know that if you have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to ask them in the Q&A chat box and we'll respond to them throughout the presentation at any time. And definitely at the end of the presentation, we're going to leave time for questions. You can also email us directly. Our email address is publicpolicy@psu.edu, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to provide an overview of the Master of Public Policy degree program, which you'll hear us refer to as the MPP program quite frequently. We'll discuss who's suited for the program. We'll talk curriculum and the skills you'll gain. We're going to talk about career options and income expectations for our graduates, as well as some of the unique support that the program provides to our students. We'll break down the application process and requirements. We'll also talk about life at Penn State. And of course, once again, we are going to take your questions, which we encourage you to ask throughout the presentation. But first, I want to give an update. What's happening at Penn State, what we know, and where you can get the latest information. Stephen, let's turn to you.
Thank you, Whitney. So for the most up-to-date information regarding the university's response and what they're doing in regards to the pandemic, you can go to the website virusinfo.psu.edu. At the moment, the way the university is handling it is that all students will be transitioning fully remotely for the remainder of fall semester at the end of this week. Spring semester is going to continue very similar to how fall semester was, with a certain percentage of courses being offered as COVID in person, and then a certain amount being offered remote, and a certain amount being offered in a hybrid status. If you want additional information as we get closer to the start of spring semester, this is your best place to find that information, and also for any future semesters like fall of 21 and summer, as well as we get closer to the university making decisions about future semester offerings.
Great, thanks. So, Stephen, we're here to talk about the Master of Public Policy degree, or the MPP. Tell us, what exactly is the program? Who is this for? Who should apply?
So the Master of Public Policy is a 2-year professional master's degree that trains students to go out and do careers in public policy. And there's a broad spectrum of career opportunities that come with this degree, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the presentation. But in terms of who this degree is built for, I like to say that this is a great degree for students that are interested in developing and impacting change. If you want to be a change maker, if you want to have an impact in what you do with your work and how it can positively change the things around you, then a Master's of Public Policy is the perfect type of degree for you. So if that sounds like it fits your areas of interest, this is a great opportunity for you.
I'd like to bring our current MPP student, Caitlin, into the conversation and put you in the hot seat. Caitlin, why an MPP?
I think for me, it was kind of what Stephen was just talking about. In my undergrad, I studied criminology. I didn't really know what I wanted to do with that going into it. I think I knew that I wanted to impact positive change, but I didn't know how to go about that. So I was kind of between law school and this program. And ultimately, I chose an MPP degree right now because it was much more versatile. And since I was already at Penn State as an undergrad, it was definitely a better decision financially and time wise. But it is more versatile. You're not really stuck to one path. Even though I studied criminology and I'm doing criminal justice policy as my concentration, I can really do what I want with it and pursue other interests as well.
Great. And we're going to talk to you a little bit more later about your experience in your senior year as an undergraduate student and what you did this past summer. And of course, your plans for the future. So Stephen, tell us more about the program, how it's structured, and what we provide as far as curriculum.
Absolutely. So the program provides students with professional training in public policy. It's going to help you with the understanding of design, adoption, implementation, and evaluation of public policies across multiple different fields. And the way that we accomplish this is through the curriculum structure of the program. And so year one, students that come into the program are going to take the core policy curriculum. So they'll get courses in statistics for public policy, public finance and budgeting, organizational leadership and management, public policy process, policy analysis. So really all of the coursework necessary to build up their knowledge in policy analysis so that they can then go and do the professional internship in between years 1 and years 2 in that summer. And so then students come back and finish up any remaining policy requirements that they have in year 2, but also that's where we have flexibility regarding specializations and concentrations, which we'll get into in a little bit more. So it's a 43 credit program, 42 if you're a working professional with an internship waiver. And then also students do a capstone project in their final semester, which we'll go into a little bit more as well later as we progress in the presentation.
And I want to remind everyone that we're taking questions throughout the presentation. So don't be shy, use the Q&A box or the chat. And we're here to answer any of your questions about the program, about life at Penn State. So use it whenever you feel like it. Stephen, let's keep with you. Tell us about the curriculum and specializations and talk to us about what makes the program unique. And I see a question coming in, but let's touch on some of this first.
Okay, sounds good. So the way that the specializations work is that there are 4 elective courses that every MPP student must take to formulate their specialization in a specific area of policy. Normally, as we were talking about the standard timeline, you will be taking these courses in year 2. As you can see, we have a multitude of different policy concentration options that students can focus and specialize in. You also have the ability to choose and work with us to create your own if you're not seeing one on this slide that meets your interests. And this is where our program differs from a lot of other ones because we do have such broad flexibility for students to focus on. So this is a good option for students to gain a better understanding in a specific area, along with the internship and capstone project if they want to link it all together as they progress through it.
Great. We were talking about the total number of credits being 43 and 42 for working professionals. The question we have coming in says, does the same timeline apply to students who are working professionals?
That's up to the student. So depending on how many hours you're working, like if you're doing full-time, usually we look at getting you through the program in 3 to 4 years, depending on how many courses you can actually take while you're doing your normal job. The nice thing is that the majority of our courses are all offered in the late afternoons and evenings once a week. So it does make it a little bit more compatible for working professionals. And in terms of the timeline, it would depend on whether you're taking 1 course each semester, 2 courses each semester, if you're taking classes in the summer as well. And that all impacts essentially the timeline. But the way it works is as a working professional, you have 5 years to complete all of the credits. It's easy to get it done in 3 years, and very easy to set it up to get it done in 4. So the timeline would be something that you would work with me on one-on-one to develop based off of all of the factors that we just went over.
Excellent. Now, I don't know how many attendees we have who this would be applicable for, but we do also have a program for our Penn State undergraduate students, which is what Caitlin was a part of. This is the accelerated integrated undergraduate graduate program. So Stephen, briefly tell us what this program is.
So the Accelerated Integrated Undergraduate to Graduate Program, or IUG, is designed for current Penn State students that are high achieving students within their specific major to essentially complete the master's degree in accelerated timeline by having their senior year be a dual enrolled year, with us sharing courses between both their undergraduate and their graduate degree, and then also taking a few of our classes along the way. So currently we have IUG options available with the BS in criminology, the BS in sociology, the BA in political science, and the BS in health policy and administration. All of them are structured a little bit differently in how they work, and each student's timeline for that year of dual enrollment might be a little bit different. So the key first step for this is to meet with your undergrad advisor first, and then schedule an appointment to meet with me. One of the big benefits of this program is it saves students time and money, because they're only paying undergraduate tuition for the year that they're in dual enrollment, but they're also only paying undergraduate tuition for that final year when they're just in the master's program if they qualify as part of the IUG. So it does save students a lot of time and money if they are eligible for this program.
Great. And I want to encourage any of our attendees, if you have questions about the IUG program, please don't hesitate to ask those during this session, because we'd love to talk about that a little bit more if that's what you're interested in. But I'd also like to move on to some of the other things that we want to talk about today, including what you can do with the Master of Public Policy degree, because I want to first bring this to Catherine, because we talk about how the MPP is a professional degree program, and we want our students to be job ready when they leave us. But what jobs are available?
Well, Whitney, great question. And as you can see from the number of different specializations, MPP policy degrees touch virtually every aspect that we all work with. So there are many jobs available in the government, for example, nonprofit organizations, lobbying, consulting, entrepreneurial companies, think tanks, people in the private sector. So if you think about the framework within which we all live and work, policy touches almost every one of those areas. So as Caitlin mentioned in her comments earlier, there's great flexibility, and honestly, the sky's the limit in terms of opportunity for someone with this degree.
And Caitlin, I know some of the answers to this, but thoughts now about, I mean, it's coming up. It feels like it's coming up pretty quickly, but what are you thinking post-graduation?
So I'm thinking post-graduation, I'd like to start my policy career in the nonprofit sector. I had my internship with a nonprofit and I really enjoyed it. And I think there's so many nonprofits out there to figure out what passion I kind of want to pursue in the policy world. So as of right now, that's what I'm thinking.
Excellent. So Catherine, a lot of people want to know when they're investing in a graduate degree, will it boost their earning power? Are they going to see a return on that investment?
Sure. And, with the cost of education, that's always a question that's important to ask. And whether one goes through the IUG and saves the money that Stephen talked about with doing an integrated undergraduate program, or whether they do the straight master's degree, according to the Census Bureau, MPP grads earn about $19,000 more than their counterpart with a bachelor's degree. And, salary ranges can vary widely depending on the sector that one chooses to join. But so someone in the middle of a career in an MPP with an MPP degree can expect somewhere between $93,000 and $175,000 salary with a median of about $132,000. And that's somebody at a manager level, at a kind of a mid-level manager in public policy in the government sector. So again, the range is wide, but I think it's pretty clear that the payoff happens pretty quickly.
And you can find more of this information on salary and different job options on our website. If you look under either graduate or under the undergraduate section, you'll find some more information and data on this. We have a question coming in. My understanding is that this program is fairly new at PSU. Is there any existing data on MPP graduates specific to Penn State? Well, we all know about this because Caitlin is part of our first cohort, but Stephen, why don't you tackle this question?
Sure. So at the moment, we don't have data about graduates because our first cohort is graduating this spring. So once they graduate and are done, we'll be able to get our first set of data in terms of their placement rates and where they go post-graduation. But we do have students that are already setting things up for next semester or even post-graduation. So we have some students who've secured employment with Amazon. We have other students who are in the process of interviewing for fellowship programs. And we have other students who've already secured fellowship opportunities with places such as Defense Intelligence Agency. So hopefully we will have additional data in a few months after we get through the graduation cycle in spring.
And I'd also like to put in a plug for Catherine and the internship program. As the Director of Professional Development and Student Engagement, 100% of our cohort that Caitlin was a part of, that first cohort, secured internships this past summer. They were able to pivot to all of the internships online. So we're about to talk to the resources that we provide to our students, including internship placement and career coaching. And she's going to talk about that in just a moment. But we are work very closely with our students to ensure, like I said, that they're job ready, but also that they are ready to go out and secure those positions and that we're here to help them. So let's move on to that. Let's talk about that, Catherine.
Sure, Whitney. And, thinking about the previous question about our data, I think it's important to look at a couple of things when you look at a program. The first of all is employability. And the fact that we did have 100% placement in our internships is a really good indication of the strength of the Penn State program. And a number of our students are, in all likelihood, setting themselves up to work for the companies or work for someone who they networked with during the internship. So the internship, in terms of preparing one for being job ready as well as networked in the field, is incredibly important. So students find their internships, but I work with them very, very closely in terms of understanding what their interests are and what they'd like to explore, because that's what you do in an internship. It's that opportunity, if you don't have experience in public policy, to find an area that you want to learn more about. And in some cases, you find that the internship is exactly what you hoped for. And sometimes you find that the internship is not probably an area that you want to spend time in. So it's great for that opportunity to ask a lot of questions and experience the broad way that policy works in a particular organization or sector. A part of that internship placement includes career coaching along the way. So what does your resume look like? What does your cover letter look like? What does your application packet look like? And how do you prepare for that interview? And with the pivot to virtual this year, we prepared a virtual interview guide that helped our students to know how to do those interviews in a virtual setting and to be effective at doing it. We think about our program as one that prepares graduates for the practical application of what they've learned. So we do that with the internship. As Whitney mentioned, there's also a capstone experience, which takes an internship experience deeper and allows our students to apply what they've learned over the 2 years in a practical setting. And then we really sort of frame that with leadership development. So we have an elective course in leadership where students have the opportunity to explore who they are as leaders, what they want to be as leaders, and to gain insights about how they use their bring the best that they have to the table. And we do that with strengths management coaching. And then we also envelop them, if you will, in professional development, which includes engaging with future alumni, current alumni from Penn State and friends of the program around what are some of the skills that you need to be successful in a public workplace, public policy workplace, as well as how people found the careers that they're in, and the ability to explore the oftentimes crooked path that many of us take to being where we are as public policy professionals today. So a lot of resources, a lot of support, and hopefully a lot of opportunity for our students to leave the program with job-ready skills.
And this is all about, I want to ask Caitlin about her experience, and I know she's working on the capstone or preparing for the capstone right now. But before that, this is also about the networking portion that you're talking about too, because I know you're working with some alumni and some of the connections that you've been building in our professional and leadership development programs to help connect our students to some policy experts, as well as alumni and others, to connect them to future job connections and things like that. So these are things that we provide our students to make them have the best start in their careers. So.
Well, absolutely. And Stephen will talk about the alumni network in a minute, but I've had students ask me about particular organizations that they're interested in, and I reach out, and invariably I will find an alumni from Penn State somewhere in one of those organizations that we can connect students with, to network and to gain insight into the organization that they're interested in. What's it like to work there? What might it be like to be an intern there? And it really kind of helps them prepare realistically for what to expect.
Exactly. And we always talk about, and we will later, about how Penn State has the largest alumni network. But it's also nice when it comes from those in your unit, in your specific department, who are helping you make those connections. So there's that aspect as well. So Caitlin, I want to turn to you. First, let me ask you to tell us about your internship experience, where you interned, and what did you do there?
So this past summer, I internship with RAIN, which is the Rape, Abuse, Incest National Network. It's the largest anti-sexual violence organization in the U.S. And it was a really great experience. I've never worked at a nonprofit. I've always just had like serving jobs. So I've never really been in like an office setting, even though it was remote. It was still a really good taste of what it's like to work at a large nonprofit like RAIN. I was in their communications department, but I was still able to incorporate a lot of policy into my internship experience. They were really great working with us, just so we could get out of it what we wanted to. And yeah, it was awesome. I feel much more well-rounded now that I've had that experience in a nonprofit and in a different department. I'd never thought I'd be working in a communications department. I'm like not great with social media, and I helped out a lot with that. But it was really wonderful. And I got to talk to survivors like every day. So it was a great experience. And now I'm kind of trying to work out my capstone and seeing if I can pursue that with RAIN as well.
Great. And so that's, like Catherine was talking about, helping lead in transition into that capstone project. So that's the perfect transition into that. So we've talked about the internship, the curriculum, which is part of the curriculum, the capstone. I want to keep encouraging questions in the chat or that Q&A box. But Stephen, what's next? How do you apply?
So the next steps, if you are interested in the program, would be to start the application process. This can be done in two different ways. You can go directly to gradschool.psu.edu, or you can access the application through the Apply tab on our website, which will take you to the graduate school's website as well. So those are the two pathways to get to the application. In terms of what we require students submit as part of the application, they need to submit their undergraduate transcripts. We recommend students have around a 3.0 GPA. If you're a little bit below that, I would not discourage you from still considering applying. What I do always recommend to students that are below the GPA threshold is to reach out to me first and have a conversation prior to starting the application process. Besides your undergraduate transcript, we require 2 letters of recommendation. One of these should be from a faculty member who can attest to your academic capabilities. The other can be from another faculty member. It can be from a community member, internship coordinator, or supervisor. I usually always tell students that they want to make sure that they find someone who's going to write them a very good and personalized recommendation letter. And then finally, the last thing that we require from students besides the general application information is a 1,500-word personal statement. And this is your chance to tell us your story. What's motivated you or influenced you to pursue a career in public policy, maybe what you're looking to do with the degree. It really is up to you how you want to craft that. Those are the three main factors that we review for admission. They are all weighted equally. For deadlines, you can find them at our website. We are accepting applications still for fall of 21. And if you hurry and you're interested in spring, we might be able to get you in there as well. Though for spring, I would recommend contacting me immediately. We do not have any graduate exam requirements, so no GRE, no GMAT. We just do that full holistic review of your application in those three areas.
Excellent. So we've talked a lot about the degree. Oh, we have a question coming in. Are faculty letters required for those who are several years removed from their undergrad degree? That's a great question, Stephen.
So no, if you are a returning professional and you've been out of school a few years, then you are not required to submit a faculty letter of recommendation. We understand it would be very hard to go back and get one of those. So if you are a working professional, the 2 letters of recommendation can just be professional references, and that is perfectly okay.
Great question. So we've talked a lot about the degree curriculum. Why Penn State? Before I ask Stephen to go along to run through some of the benefits that a lot of them we've already touched on, I do want to ask Caitlin about some of the specifics about our program. I know, Caitlin, you've had the chance to, you're part of the small cohort. So I want you to talk a little bit about that. And what it's like to be a part of the cohort. I also want to ask you about working with the faculty, if you could tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So I'll start off talking about the size of the program. For me, that was a big drawing point. I went to Penn State as an undergrad. I kind of got the big college feel and experience that I wanted. But I think for grad school, it's nice to be in a smaller program and have a smaller cohort, so smaller class sizes. I think it really allowed us to all get to know each other better, and also the faculty and staff in the program. It's really great. I think our cohort has like 13 or 15 students. And while we all come from very diverse backgrounds and experiences and interests, we're all kind of like-minded in that we all want to make change. That's, like Stephen was talking about earlier, that's kind of a big reason why people get into public policy. So that's been really wonderful to get to know everyone. And I also have been working with Dr. Lillard Richardson on research. So they have research positions. I started when last fall when I started the program as an undergrad, and I'm continuing this year as well. And that's been really awesome. I didn't have a lot of research experience besides for classes and stuff. I never pursued undergraduate research because I didn't really know that was a thing, but it's been awesome. He's definitely more into public health, and I'm interested in criminal justice policy, but we've kind of been able to find projects that he's working on that could benefit from maybe more of a criminal justice perspective. So I've helped him with a lot of marijuana policy research. And when the pandemic started, I helped him kind of track different COVID policies in the state. So that's been a really wonderful experience as well.
And a lot of our other students, Stephen, have similar positions. If you could just tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, so we do have options available to assist students with the funding of their education. We do have multiple research positions that are tied to all of our faculty members, as Caitlin was explaining what she does with our director. And then we also have a few positions that directly support our staff. So myself, Whitney, our associate director, as well with other things. All students who apply to the program are considered for these positions. They are usually around 10 to 20 hours a week. and they provide students with a biweekly paycheck that they can use towards whatever expenses they want to put it towards, whether it be tuition, housing, food, whatever they see as necessary to spend those funds on. So every student who applies is automatically considered by the Admissions and Scholarship Committee. And then on top of that, coming into the program, you then have access to a lot of other offices across campus that offer similar positions that you can then apply for just directly through Penn State's jobs website as well. And then also any student that applies to the program is considered for any scholarships or aid that we might have directly from our program.
And we send out a lot of notices to our students about those kinds of opportunities. So Stephen, let's quickly run through some of the benefits. I want to remind everybody we're still open for questions. We have a few minutes left, so we definitely want to be here to answer your questions. But let's talk a little bit more about some of the benefits of why you should choose Penn State for your master's program, and specifically your Master of Public Policy degree.
So I think one of the big benefits that sets us apart, as we were talking about a little bit earlier, is the specialization of flexibility. Not every policy program has the amount of specialization options that we do, and the flexibility for students to create their own. So that, I think, sets us apart from most of the other programs that you might be looking into. The other nice thing is we are a small program at a big university, so you have the ability to connect with all of us while still getting all of the resources that come with being at a place like Penn State. You also get a lot more involvement from the faculty and staff, everything that Catherine does to prepare students for the professional side, and then the ability to connect with faculty and myself when students are in need of resources is very easy, and connecting with their own cohorts as well. And then finally, I think one of the biggest benefits to picking Penn State over any other potential option is that we have the largest active alumni association in the world. So no matter where students go post-graduation, they have an instant network that they can connect into either professionally or socially. There are alumni chapters in almost every major city in the United States. There's ones in every single state, and there are alumni chapters in most countries across the world. And so that level of networking can't be overstated in terms of how it can impact students' career trajectories.
But I want to point out, I don't know how many undergrads take advantage of those opportunities. I think it's definitely something that is very helpful to have a program, have a person in place like Catherine to help connect the students with individuals who are experts in the area that you are specializing in or the career path that you want to follow. And that's very valuable. So I think that's something that we definitely want to point out, because that's something that it's great to have this a loyal alumni network, and I don't want to discount it because it is amazing. And the College of the Liberal Arts is fantastic at connecting us with our alumni, and they are very committed to our students. But it's also great to have people like Catherine who can connect our students with the alumni who are right in the career path where our students want to go. So that's very valuable. Again, we're here for your questions. So if you haven't asked any at this point, we are here to answer them. I also want to point out, at any time you can email us. Our email address is publicpolicy@psu.edu, and Stephen, our director of enrollment and advising, is the one who answers that email address. So if you'd like to set up a one-on-one appointment with him, you can do that via that email address. You can also visit us online. Our website is publicpolicy.psu.edu. Take a look at our brochure, take a closer look at the curriculum, including the curriculum for spring 2021. The elective classes and descriptions of all the classes are there. If there are no additional questions, Caitlin, what are you excited about for spring 2021? Any classes that you're looking forward to in particular?
Yes, I'm excited for my capstone. I hope it all works out with rain. And I'm also taking an environmental policy class that
Oh,
I'm really looking forward to as well. So, yeah.
excellent, excellent. Well, we definitely want to thank all of our panelists, Stephen Mazovsky, our enrollment and advising manager, Caitlin Reber, our MPP class of 2021 student, and Catherine Baumgardner, our director of professional development and student engagement. And of course, we want to thank all of you for attending today. If you have any additional questions, again, our website and our email address are on the screen, but again, it's publicpolicy@psu.edu. Thanks again and have a great day. Thank you, everybody.